Hello student, this is Pallad Darbari, your host, and you're watching Pallad Darbari classes. In this video, we will discuss budget. We will make three videos on budget. This is the first video topic that we will cover under budget. The first is we will see the meaning of the budget. We will discuss objectives of budget, and we will discuss the components of budget. There are two components of budget: budget receipt and budget expenditure. In this video, we will only discuss budget receipt. Let us start the class with the meaning of budget. Budget is a financial statement showing item wise government receipt and government payment during a particular financial year. So in the budget, government will decide from where they will get the money, and at the same time the government will also intimate where the government will spend the money. Along with this, budget also presents government's report on the financial performance during the previous year. Let's discuss the objectives of the budget. The first objective of the budget is reduction in inequalities of income and wealth. Through the budget, government tried to diminish the gap between rich and poor. Through the budget, government tried to stabilize the condition of inflation deflation. Through the budget, government tried to make the balance between the welfare and profit. And through the budget, the government tried to manage the public enterprises properly so that the government should timely get the money from the public sector so that they can meet out their daily chores for the developmental purpose. Let us discuss the objectives in detail. The first objective is reduction in inequalities of income and wealth. The government through the budgetary policies try to diminish the gap between rich and poor. The government is having two tools through which the government try to diminish the gap between rich and poor. These tools are taxation and expenditure policy. Through the taxation, government imposes more taxes on the rich and less on the poor so that the condition of the poor should improve and the position of the rich should fall down. Apart with this, government also start giving financial help subsidies to the poor people so that their condition becomes stronger. And finally, the gap between the rich and poor should be diminished. The second objective is economic stability. The government also aims at insulating the economy from major fluctuations like inflation, unemployment, business cycles such as boom, recession, depression, and recovery. The government through its budgetary policy tries to combat such situations. The major concern of the government is to achieve economic growth rate while maintaining price and employment stability, and this the government do through budget. The third objective is reallocation of resources. This objective of the government is related with the allocation of resources to different areas. In a mixed economy, the private producers aims towards profit maximization while the government aims towards welfare maximization. The private sector always try to divert resources towards areas of higher profit while ignoring the areas of social welfare. In such a situation, the government objective of welfare is ignored. The resources should be redistributed in such a way that the balance of profit maximization and the welfare is established. The million-dollar question is how? Through the budgetary policies, the government imposes on hazardous product and give tax concessions, subsidies to the useful product. In this way, government tried to make the balance between profit maximization and welfare. By imposing taxes on hazardous goods, government increased the profit. At the same time, by imposing taxes, government do the welfare. Why? Because hazardous goods, the sale of the hazardous goods get reduced. And by providing tax concessions, subsidies, the government boost up the welfare activities. In this way, the balance between profit maximization and the welfare is restored. The next objective is management of public enterprises. The government also operates and controls different enterprises which are known as public sector enterprises. These enterprises are operated by the government because of two core motives. Number one, these industries provide goods which are socially needed, and these industries also help in controlling the monopoly in the private sector. If the areas such as railways, waterline, etc. should have been left to the private sector, then it would have resulted in emergence of monopolies. Hence, the government has kept these core areas with itself to provide services at normal rate, enhance welfare, and also to mold economy into a desirable shape. The next objective is economic growth. Through the fiscal policy of the government tried to encourage savings and investment. This will enhance capital formation and finally increases the pace of economic growth. See the components of the budget. The budget can be divided into two broad categories. Budgetary receipt, it consists of revenue receipts and the capital receipts, and the budgetary expenditure, and budgetary expenditure consists of revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Let us discuss the components of the budget. Budget is having two components, budget receipt and budget expenditure. Let us see the budget receipt. Budget receipt is segregated into two parts, or budget receipt has two parts, revenue receipt and capital receipt. Revenue receipt is further divided into two parts, that is the tax receipt and the non-tax receipt. Capital receipt, it has three components. Number one, recovery of loans, borrowings, other receipts. In this video, we will discuss and we will see the detail of the budgetary receipt. Let us see budget expenditure. Budget expenditure has three categories, or we can divide the budget expenditure on the basis of asset and liability into two parts, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. Budget expenditure can also be categorized on the basis of planned or non-planned activities as planned expenditure, non-planned expenditure. On the basis of developmental and non-developmental activities, budget expenditure can be developmental expenditure and non-developmental expenditure. In the next video, we will discuss detailed about budget expenditure. Let us see budget receipts. Budget receipt, as I told you, it has two components, revenue receipts. What is revenue receipts? These are those receipts of the government which neither creates any liability nor it reduces the assets of the government. It comprises tax and non-tax receipt. Whereas capital receipts, this is the second component of the budget receipts. Contrary to the revenue receipt, capital receipt refers to those receipts of the government which reduces the assets of the government or creates a liability for the government. So let us discuss the same thing in detail. Firstly, discuss the revenue receipt. See, we can see that the transactions, what is revenue receipt? The transaction which neither increases the liability. Here we can say that this blue line indicates liability and the red arrow represents assets. So what is revenue receipts? Which neither increases the liability and nor decreases the assets of the government is called revenue receipt. So the transaction which neither leads to the increment in the liability or fall in the assets of the government is called revenue receipt. Example, taxes and non-tax. See the components. The revenue receipt has two components, tax receipt and the non-tax receipt. Let us see the tax receipt. Listen, tax is a legally compulsory monetary contribution. It is not a payment, it is a contribution. Why? Because in consideration of the tax, the government is not liable to make any payment or government is not liable to give any services. Fine. Since the liability of the government is not there, that is why we put it under revenue receipt. So it is a legally compulsory monetary contribution to the government by the economic units such as household, firms and other economic units. Taxes are imposed by the government on different activities, income, property, production, occupation, etc. The main motive of imposing the taxes is to raise the revenue so that the government can meet out the daily chores and enhance the welfare of the country. The tax can be categorized into three categories: direct and indirect taxes, progressive and regressive taxes, and ad valorem and specific taxes. The other name of the ad valorem is value added tax. Let us discuss the direct and the indirect taxes first. Let us see what is direct tax. Those taxes which are borne by the person on whom it is imposed is called direct taxes. It means imposed on A and A only is liable to make the payment is called direct taxes. Example, income tax paid on A and A is only liable to make the payment. Wealth tax imposed on A and A is only liable to make the payment. So it is direct taxes. The burden of such taxes cannot be shifted on the other person. Let us see what is indirect taxes. Against the direct taxes or opposite to the direct taxes, we can say indirect taxes are those taxes in which the burden of tax shift from the payer to the bearer. For example, in the case of sale tax, the seller is liable to make the payment, but the question is who is making the payment? Consumer. Let us see the differences of direct and indirect taxes. See, the differences are very important. So many times the question is being asked in the paper. Firstly, let us see nature. Direct taxes are paid on whom it is imposed, whereas indirect taxes are imposed on one but is paid by other. Let us see the or discuss the scope. It is being imposed on property and income, whereas indirect taxes are imposed on production and sales. Let's see shift. Remember one thing, direct tax cannot be shifted. Opposite to that, indirect tax can be shifted. So let us see the progressive and the regressive taxes. Firstly, we will talk about the progressive taxes. Progressive taxes are those taxes in which the rate of tax increase with the increase in income and decrease with the decrease in income. Example, 10% rise in the income of the person, the rate also increased by 10%. Then it is the case of the progressive tax. So progressive means progress with the increment in the income. Opposite to that, regressive taxes are those taxes in which the rate falls with the increase in income. Example, 10% rise in income of a person, the tax rate decreased by 5%. Then it is called regressive taxes. Let us discuss the ad valorem and the specific taxes. A literary meaning of the ad valorem is value added tax. It is the tax which is being imposed at every stage of production. In other words, these are the tax which are levied as a percentage of the cost of supply. On the contrary, specific taxes are those taxes where the label of tax is fixed independent of value of items which is purchased. These are imposed on the basis of weight or unit of commodity. Example, tax levied on cigarette. Let us discuss the non-tax receipt. Non-tax receipt refers to those budget receipt of the government which are other than the tax receipt. Example is fees and license, ASCHAT, etc. Various non-tax receipts can be classified as follows. Number 1, fees and license. First, we discuss about the fees. The government receives fees in return of the various services provided by it to the people. Example, college fee, passport, etc. Let us see the license fee. These refers to the fees that are received by the government in return of the allowances granted to the people. So there is a little difference between the fees and the license fee. License fee refers to the fees that are received by the government in return of the allowances granted to the people to perform certain activity. Example, fees received from the issue of import license, etc. Third is ASCHAT. ASCHAT refers to the income from a property of a person who dies without having any legal hire. Let us see the fines and penalties. Fines and penalties are imposed by the government on those who boycott laws. Let us see the forfeitures. Forfeiture refers to the penalties imposed by the court for non-compliance with its order. Let us see the grants and gifts. Gifts, grant, donation received by the government in events of nature calamities, war, etc. also forms a source of the revenue for the government. Let us see the income from the public entrepreneurs. Income and the profit from various enterprises owned by the government such as railways, Steel Authority of India, etc. forms an important source of revenue for the government. The last one is special assessment. Special assessment refers to those payments that are made by the owners of the property who experienced capital gain. Most of the time we have seen that government take over the land. Why? Because they want to put the railway line or they have to construct the dam and the money is being paid to the person. Years later, government reevaluate the area and they find that the value of the land has increased. Then the government compensate the difference to the people. Whatever the extra money the government has paid to the person, on that money the tax will be imposed. That is called special assessment. So what is special assessment? Special assessment refers to those payments that are made by the owner of property who have experienced capital gain. Now let us see the capital receipt. The transaction which either increase the liability or decrease the assets of the government is called revenue receipt. Liability blue, asset red. If the liability is increasing or the asset is decreasing, that is called capital receipt. So liability is increasing up and the asset is decreasing, so capital receipt is there. Let us see the components of the capital receipt. The first component of the capital receipt is recovery of loans. It means the money which the government has given to the state government or union territory. When they are getting the money back, it is called recovery of loans. The central government offers loans to the state government and union territory for various purposes. The recovery of such loans forms a part of the receipt for the government. The recovery of such loans are treated as capital receipt. Why? Because loans causes a reduction in the financial asset of the government. Next component is borrowings and other liabilities. Borrowings of funds by the government creates liability for it. Therefore, the receipt from the borrowings activities of the government are treated as capital receipt. Listen, government can borrow funds from four sources. They can borrow the money from the public, they can borrow the money from the central bank, they can borrow the money from the foreign government, and they can borrow the money from international monetary institutions such as IMF, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, Asia Infrastructure Bank, etc. The next component is other receipts. These are those capital receipts which are separate from the borrowings and the recovery of loans. Under the other receipts, disinvestment comes. Disinvestment refers to selling a part or whole of the shares of the enterprises that are owned by the government. It means selling the share of the PSUs. The small savings. Government uses the people's saving like post office, deposits, Kisan Vikas Patra, PPF, etc. This increases the government liability, so it is a capital receipt. See the differences between the capital receipt and the revenue receipt. Nature. These are recurring in nature. Let us see the effect on the assets and liabilities. Revenue receipt has no effect on the assets and liabilities, whereas capital receipt has effect on assets and liabilities. Let us see the types. Revenue receipt has two components, tax and non-tax receipt, whereas capital receipt has only four components, that is a borrowing, recovery of loans and advances, disinvestment, and small savings. That's all I have in this video. Thanks for watching. Meet you soon with a new video. Till then, God bless you. Stay home, stay safe.